this is Steve, also known as your friendly neighborhood man in Magenta Wing. Now, I just wanted to make a little video and talk about a music marathon I had this past weekend. Now, I had to drive from Pittsburgh to Rochester, New York to visit the Hoopla Rocky Horror Cast. And when I go on road trips like that, I always like to plan out my driving music ahead of time. You know, pick something really entertaining that's going to make the ride a lot easier. So this time I was going to catch up with a band I hadn't listened to in a while and do a sort of chronological marathon of all of Weezer's core albums. I just thought that would be an educational experience. I mean, Weezer's had some big highs and some very low valleys in their career, and I just kind of wanted to hear their progression, you know, see if I could figure out what went wrong and what went right. So what I'm going to do for the next few minutes is just go through everything album by album and just tell you what I thought about all of them. Now, I do want to say by core albums, I mean the 11 main albums spanning Blue to the recent White album. I kind of danced around the idea of including songs from the Black Hole because it was such a major part in their history, but none of the fan-made versions out there really represent a finished album. I mean, a lot of the songs are still in demo form, so I didn't really want that spoiling the good stuff. But after all was said and done, I kind of changed my mind about that. But for now, let's dive right into the Blue album, Weezer's debut album. Now, honestly, this is one of the strongest debut albums I've ever heard by any band. I mean, I know a lot of people say that, but it's because it's true. It's a genuinely good album. I mean, there's just a lot of great material here. Undone, Say It Ain't So, Only in Dreams. And yeah, I know someone's gonna point out, Rivers doesn't like that song. Well, now, I have one major gripe with the Blue album. I know I'm desecrating a classic. But my one gripe is I don't think My Name is Jonas should have been the first song. I mean, I just don't like that song. It's not a great start to the album. The lyrics are kind of personal and strange. I feel like there's a lot of like inside references that a lot of people wouldn't get. No, my choice for the first track would have been the B-side Michael and Carly. Seriously, if you want to hear one solid Weezer album, burn all the B-sides in order from Blue, Pinkerton, and then Green. Perfect album, and Michael and Carly is the first track. That starts the CD great. See, that's how Blue should have started. Okay, so I enjoyed Blue. Now we're moving on to Pinkerton. Pinkerton got so much hate when it came out because people were like, you know, it's not poppy, it's more personal, the songs are kind of dark and creepy, and yes, I mean, I agree, Pinkerton is definitely the dark cousin to the Blue album. Same kind of style musically, but the lyrics are a lot darker, a lot more personal. I mean, this time we're really delving into a guy that's having a little trouble dealing with fame. I mean, even from the first track, Tired of Sex, you can definitely get that Rivers didn't really know how to deal with this. See, I guess in some ways, Pinkerton kind of falls into the Pet Sounds category, where a band suddenly got very personal and the fans didn't really know how to handle it. But like Pet Sounds, I mean, it's looked at as a masterpiece now. And there is one last thing I want to say about Pinkerton before we move on. The song El Scorcho. Now, this is just my opinion, but I noticed this when I was listening to it again. Does anyone else think this was like a conscious attempt to make like Undone Part 2? I mean, if you think about it, it's got, you know, the drum intro, it's got that sort of odd, quirky guitar riff, it's got the anthemic sing-along chorus. It's just a very similar song in a lot of ways. So after this, Weezer takes a pause for a few years, comes back with the Green album. Now, some fans really consider this the start of Weezer's downfall. I don't at all. No, this is still going strong. Do I wish the album were a little beefier, because it's, I think, less than 30 minutes long? Yeah, you know, it's a little light on material, especially when you consider all the B-sides and stuff that came from it, but it's still got a lot of great material on it. Now, there is one big change, especially compared to Pinkerton, and even Blue to some extent. Very, very poppy, very happy, very sunny, very, you know, upbeat. And if fans consider that selling out, then so be it. But, you know, there's a happy medium where you can be poppy and upbeat, but it can still be satisfying. Now, I mean, there are times in their career when Weezer took that a little too far, but we'll get there soon. Okay, so we're 3 for 3. We're still going strong. Next comes Maladroit. Now, I kind of look at Maladroit as what Pinkerton was to Blue, kind of like the dark cousin, because it's the same kind of musical styles, but with a little bit of a harder edge. You know, things are a little bit more distorted, a little more raw. You know, the lyrics aren't all upbeat like the last album. You start to hear more about, like, the downfalls of love. And I mean, that really makes sense when you consider Maladroit evolved from the unreleased Black album, which was recorded right after the Green album and may have been intended as sort of the, you know, dark equivalent to it. But again, Maladroit carries on a strong streak. At this point, if Weezer would have kept up this way, things might have turned out fine. And they definitely considered it. Look up Album 5. Now, Album 5, which never really got a formal name, was an album they started working on right after Maladroit and is in the same kind of vein. The problem is, they abandoned Album 5, disappeared for a couple years, and then came back with Make Believe.